All right, it says that I am live. Well, I I'm depressing my wife by giving her my take on all these crazy current events that are going on. So rather than ramble on to her, I'm rambling on to you, the faceless masses. So if someone does happen to log on by any chance and wants to post something, question, I would be glad to answer that. But what I wanted to do in this video is just kind of get all of these things off my chest, trying to comprehend all of the different things that are going on right now in the world because it is crazy. And we should have expected this. It's already been a crazy year with what has been going on, but you have to expect when you've had most of the world be contained for a significant period of time that that containment, that pressure is going to get released in certain ways, and you don't know what's going to cause it. But once it does, it begins to pour and it begins to gush, and just like a little bit of a leak in a dam, quickly the dam bursts. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to sort of do sort of a grand theory of some of my beliefs and presuppositions and kind of lay out my understanding of what's going on, which is of course going to be an imperfect understanding. But honestly, as imperfect as it is, I think that it's probably just as useful as anything that's going to be produced by our legacy media. So I want to begin by explaining that we all have presuppositions. And the presuppositions are our beliefs that stand at the bedrock of the way we perceive the world. And most often we are unaware of our presuppositions, and yet our presuppositions inform our worldview. It's what constructs how we see the world around us. And most of us go our entire lives without being aware at all of our presuppositions. That being said, I think I have a little bit of awareness of some of my presuppositions, and I would rather tell you what those are up front than so you understand where my bias comes from, because we all have bias. And so I am a Christian, and I am an evangelical Christian, and I was born and raised in the Midwest. And so there's going to be a lot of presuppositions developed in that. I believe that the world has meaning, that is created by a perfect being and has order and reason within it, that there is an objective morality that stands outside of the power of human individuals, that we have life and meaning, that there is a supernatural element as well as a natural element. And that so that sort of informs the way I'm going to look at a lot of different things. And my own political beliefs, though, have varied over the course of my life. I'm always very dismissive of people who sort of, as a point of pride, talk about having voted one particular party their entire life. To me, that generally communicates that that you're not a free thinker, that you are a compliant thinker to a particular worldview, and that you're not looking at each individual and the merit that they bring. And so I am not a straight down the ballot voter. In my own life, I went from being a very strict, probably neocon conservative growing up, which was largely informed by my father, who was, always had Rush Limbaugh on, things like that. And in the debate team, I was always part of the crew who was sort of, you know, um, going at things from sort of a neoconservative perspective. Um, and then in college, go figure, my views became more left, which you can kind of see how easily I'm influenced by my environment around me, whether it was the views of my father when I was younger, or whether it was the views of the university, which all universities are left. Um, and even in a Midwest university, my only benefit was it wasn't far left. There were still some professors who espoused some level of moderation. even if they probably couldn't come out as conservative. But my views moved more left, and in some ways, in other ways they didn't, because again, as an evangelical Christian, there were certain moral boundaries, certain ways I perceive how human beings should conduct themselves that did not align with traditional leftist beliefs, and so I was sort of still kind of socially conservative, but economically liberal, and continued to be such until even up into the last election. Um, Even though I was a little disenchanted with Obama in the second term, I was excited by Bernie's kind of anti-bank, sort of anti um, this sort of crony capitalist message that I appreciated. And I even began to listen to, YouTube channels such as the Young Turks. And it was actually in the process of watching TYT that I began to actually start to become conservative again, and because there were just little responses to some of their message that I knew it didn't sit well. I remember one time watching a diatribe by Cenk Uygur, where he was talking about the least religious countries in the world, and he was praising China for being one of the least religious countries in the world, and and to me it was mind-boggling how someone who considers themselves politically knowledgeable and who's we're supposed to listen to um, for our understanding of the world around us was completely ignorant to why China lacked, it was not as religious, and seemed to, not realize that due to Mao and the communist ideology that religion had to be renounced, and many people had to renounce their beliefs by the point of the gun. And you have even now in the Xinjiang province, the sort of ramifications of an authoritarian non-religious regime. And so to me, it's like, how does someone who claims that they know anything about politics sort of laud an authoritarian regime for the suppression of people's beliefs? And then I watched the debate between Cenk and Ben Shapiro. And at the time, I had no idea who Ben Shapiro was. But as a debate fan and as someone who competed in debate at a high level in high school, I watched, Ben systematically destroy Cenk, and then that was sort of a realization, a slow realization that I was moving back towards conservatism. And even now, I don't know how I would characterize myself. I vacillate between some libertarian values and some traditional conservative views, and I'm very influenced by guys like Ben Shapiro, but I'm also influenced by guys like Michael Malice, and even some of the stuff that David V. Stewart says is just stuff that I chew on, and I don't know where I stand. Honestly, I'm still evaluating these ideas in my head, and I think some humility is warranted. So all of that out of the way to sort of for you and understand my bias, I want to begin to get into the events of the day, which are it's the summer of '69. It's amazing. With my kids, we're watching a space flight go on, and then along with that, you're having riots going on, and it's just the parallels to that time period are remarkable. Which reminds me, I wonder if the launch is going on right now. Sorry, I'm going on the tab. I might have to cancel it because I've got to watch the SpaceX docking. And if that's going on right now, I'm going to have to delete this video or stop this video and move on. Is it docking? Is it docking right now? Sorry. I'm going to check this out real quick. Oh, they're docking right now. Oh, I've got to stop here. The kids have got to watch this. All right, so I'm going to stop the video now because we have to watch the space station dock.